Hello everybody, Jediwarlock here, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Today, I want to give you all my thoughts on the Lord of the Rings Online, or LotRO, and what I think of the new player experience and the game in general, just to give interested viewers my opinion on this topic. Now, I am by no means a new player to this game and have not been for quite some time. However, after finishing the leveling process this summer, after finally hitting level 130, I've taken some time to go back and think about the experience I've had as a whole after playing this game off and on for almost 10 years. Specifically, I wanted to cover a few aspects of the game, as well as whether or not I think it is worth playing in 2021. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. One of the first things new players notice as they begin their journey in Middle-earth is the sheer size and scale of the world. With very few, limited exceptions, LotRO presents what is essentially an accurate scale replica of Tolkien's Middle-earth, from the green hills of the Shire to Rivendell, Moria, Gondor, Mordor, and everywhere in between. Everything you could expect from a recreation of Middle-earth is here and more. To my knowledge, there is no other game that has remained so faithful to the source material of Tolkien in creating the world of Middle-earth than LotRO. The world feels alive, vibrant, and, well, like a world. Compared to other games, even other MMOs, where the levels or regions simply feel like spaces for your character to occupy as you move through the story, LotRO doesn't shy away from giving players expansive wildernesses, massive cities, and out-of-the-way campsites and ruins that make the world feel complete, even if some of those areas serve no other purpose. To readers or viewers of Lord of the Rings, if you've ever wanted to visit the Prancing Pony Inn or delve into the mines of Moria, this game is the perfect outlet to do so. Every major location from the films and books is here, and in most cases each region is visually distinct and very satisfying to explore. On top of all the areas you've seen or read about in the novels, there are many, many more areas in this game that are hardly mentioned but were nonetheless included in this massive land. Ever wonder where all those wild men, Saruman, corrupted came from? Boom, Dunland, right for the questing. Ever want to visit that icy mountaintop where Gandalf fought that Balrog? Boom, Zarak Zagil, there you go. Ever wonder what was happening in Mirkwood during the time of Lord of the Rings? Boom, southern and northern Mirkwood. Enjoy. Just look at all these regions in the game that are scarcely mentioned in the story. I think you get my point. It would take me hours to explain even half of what's happening all around the world of this game, and so I think I'll leave most of it for you guys to discover on your own. The world is so vast and intricate that sometimes I can't even believe it exists at the level that it does. Turbine and Standing Stone Games' recreation of the most famous fantasy world of all time is truly stunning, and it doesn't take long to see why. Now, LotRO may get a small advantage over other games in this category just because its story is being adapted and expanded upon from a magnificent collection of source material, but I still wanted to discuss how I feel about the progression through the story in general. In LotRO, your character is not directly inserted into the story of the Fellowship as a main character on the same caliber as, say, Frodo or Aragorn, but that doesn't mean you don't contribute indirectly to secondary storylines or background events throughout the War of the Ring. Without spoiling too much, your character interacts with several main characters at multiple points throughout the story, and it's cleverly implemented in ways that do not interfere with the moments or story we all know and love. Your character is still able to traverse the same places and participate in the story during the same time, just at a different pace than the Fellowship. As a single example, while you might not be fighting your way through Moria side by side with Gimli and Gandalf, you are instead tasked with entering the mines after the Fellowship's passing and helping an expedition of dwarves reclaim their ancient home. The journey your character embarks on in the epic story strikes a terrific balance between not feeling too derivative of the plot we've read and watched before, while still integrating the behind-the-scenes secondary story elements perfectly with Tolkien's lore. And going through it expands the scope of the story exponentially. From dealing with splinter factions of dwarves in the Blue Mountains to tracking down the servants of Angmar in Breland and elsewhere, the epic storyline provides players with a fresh perspective on the story of the One Ring while rarely giving them an underdeveloped experience. I feel like the most common complaint with this area would be the sizable length of the story as a whole, which is valid. But when you keep in mind that MMOs usually have content spanning hundreds, if not thousands of hours, story content that takes up a couple hundred of those hours really isn't unrealistic. Not to mention a perk for those seeking a fully fleshed out narrative experience devoted to exploration and gear progression. For those of you feeling a little daunted at the prospect of pouring hundreds of hours into a game to even approach the endgame, I should clarify a few things about the story. The epic storyline is broken up into different volumes, each divided into books, then chapters, which provide players with meaningful and separate narrative milestones to keep you from feeling like there's always something else you need to do to feel accomplished. Just finish up defending the North Downs from invading orcs? Feel free to take a break or focus on another aspect of the game for a few sessions. Go sell some items on the auction house or relax in your very own hobbit hole before heading back out into the world. The story always waits for you. You can go at your own pace and enjoy as much content as you'd like at a time, which is something not unique to LotRO as an MMO, but is still something important worth mentioning. Overall, the story is a great experience for longtime fans as well as new fans of the franchise, and I definitely recommend sticking to the epic story during your journey in Middle-earth. For those familiar with the MMO format of gaming, LotRO includes many features and aspects of gameplay commonly associated with the genre. Questing, leveling up, gathering more powerful items, and exploring make up the core parts of the game, with secondary elements such as the auction house, player housing, achievements, and in-game holiday events giving the game more of a personality and a wider appeal. LotRO was first released in 2007 with the initial Shadows of Angmar story content, with subsequent expansions being released regularly to continue the story of Lord of the Rings and to add additional features to the game engine. With that being said, LotRO is definitely designed for a more laid-back, casual play style, with a combat system that is relatively easy to learn and gradually introduces you to new abilities as you level up. The true challenge in low to mid-level combat is finding which stats to look for on your equipment to maximize your chance of success. But in higher tiers, it becomes increasingly important to be aware of your cooldown abilities and encounter mechanics as well. I plan on making more videos on LotRO in the future designed to help new players navigate some of these elements in greater detail. But for this review, I believe I can summarize the combat as easy to learn, but there's always room for optimization. The social interfaces in the game are also fairly easy to understand, and coming from a guy who was raised on World of Warcraft, the skills needed should be instantly transferable from other MMO and RPG games. The auction house, mailing system, player grouping and trading, and even the player transport systems are easy to grasp once you understand the general mechanics. And the tooltips within the game are also helpful in getting a baseline understanding of the systems you'll be interacting with regularly throughout your time playing. For more information, the LotRO wiki and the forums are also helpful when something just isn't clicking or you need a bit more clarification on an item. There are far too many minute aspects of the gameplay and optimizing your character to get into here, but I will say that the systems are gradually introduced to you over time and allow you to grow comfortable with each before another is added on. Like just about anything else, learning the basics is important before more advanced concepts can be added on, and LotRO handles this well by starting you off as a fresh adventurer who is slowly honing their abilities and learning more about the world of Middle-earth over time. One consideration to keep in mind is the power of the computer you're interested in playing LotRO with, as performance can drastically impact your enjoyment while playing the game. With mid-tier internet at home and a 4-year-old Dell gaming laptop, I find LotRO is still able to run at acceptable graphics nearly all of the time. With that being said, a Chromebook probably won't lead to an ideal gaming experience, especially in highly populated quest hubs like Bree. So take my view on this topic with a grain of salt, as performance can vary widely between computers. Server downtime is not usually an issue during normal daytime hours, and lag spikes usually only happen to me when first entering high population areas. While the architecture and engine of LotRO isn't exactly state-of-the-art, I don't have many complaints about how the game handles, and I find that my connection-based annoyances are few and far between. With so much talk of games like World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Call of Duty, and many more harboring so-called toxic communities, I'm happy to report that LotRO's fanbase is, for the most part, very friendly and especially compassionate to new players who need a hand. Whether it's needing a buddy to run an instance with, or just asking where the optimal quests are for your level, chatting and questing with other players is almost always an enjoyable experience. Besides the occasional gold spammer, which from what I've seen is nothing compared to the disaster of WoW gold botting, and the rare troll sighting in world chat, I can't say I've ever had an awful social experience in my many years of playing. The constant influx of new players, which has undoubtedly waxed and waned over the years, is still very much present today, making even the original regions like Bree and the Lone Lands feel alive and engaging. It's not hard to party up with a fellow player who's questing in the same area, and I find that those moments of playing with other people, whether they're your friends, roommates, or total strangers, are some of the most memorable I can recall from the game. Right up there with fighting at the Battle of Pelennor Fields, or entering Moria for the first time, doing something as simple as driving off a group of bandits from a farm can become memorable when you have other players there to watch your back. The socialization in the game is rewarding, but doesn't feel forced, and leaves you free to be as interactive with other players as you'd like on any particular day. While I personally don't have much experience with high-end raiding, progression, or serious guild interactions, the new player and casual questing social experiences are, in my opinion, perfect for facilitating positive growth in the LotRO community and the MMO community as a whole. Lastly, now that I've hopefully hyped up the game for a couple of you, I'd like to discuss the money situation with regard to LotRO and Standing Stone games. Let's start off with the good news. The game is free. Well, kind of. See, you technically don't have to pay for anything in the game. LotRO runs on an in-game currency known as LotRO points, which can be purchased with real-world money or can be earned by completing achievements or deeds within the game itself. Creating your character, starting your adventure, and leveling up through the epic story are completely free of charge, but there's a catch. As you progress through the world of Middle-earth, you'll discover that somewhere in between levels 20 and 30, that not all the quests in every region are free. Since the epic storyline does not provide enough level experience to keep pace with the rate at which the story progresses, you're going to want to accept at least a few side quests every level to gain the experience you'll need to move on in the epic story. To unlock the side quests in most of the regions, you'll have to spend a couple hundred LotRO points on a quest pack or expansion that will give you access to all the quests for a certain region. The method by which you acquire those points is your decision, with some players opting to grind out deeds over long periods of time before purchasing the next quest pack and moving on. while others choose the more direct approach of buying points with real-world money to add to their accounts. The in-game shop handles all these transactions and more without being too much of a central aspect of the game. The shop also offers in-game cosmetics and character boosts, but I find this to be a bit more forgivable than, say, modern World of Warcraft's shop, considering LotRO's base game is completely free. For those looking for a more widespread solution to paywalls, the shop also offers a VIP monthly subscription pass that includes access to all game content, as well as multiple other perks and bonuses. I would not recommend this option early on in your experience, but if you decide to become a hardcore LotRO player later on, it might be just what you're looking for. In general, I find the business model for LotRO to be acceptable and even generous to the players, as it gives them a wide array of free features and content types while still leaving the door open for them to progress through the entire game. You know, this kind of makes me want to do a tier list maker for all the LotRO regions, so I guess look out for that in the future too. In almost 10 years of playing, I've probably spent less than $80 on the game total, I'd say, and I've never felt like buying a monthly subscription was necessary to get a sense of satisfaction and enjoyment from the game. The free-to-start style of the game is new player friendly and gives you a great overview of what you can expect if you decide to pay going forward into the continuing expansions of the game. So, there you have it. 5 main aspects of Lord of the Rings Online, broken down and analyzed from what I like to call my casual veteran point of view. LotRO has been a gaming staple of my life and childhood for nearly a decade now, and the fact that Standing Stone Games continues to develop new and engaging content is a testament to how successful the game has been at retaining a community and respecting the source material for nearly 15 years. However many times I took breaks from LotRO to check out the new fad game, I always ended up coming back for one reason or another. I definitely recommend this game for anybody who is a fan of MMOs or Lord of the Rings, and it has been one of my all-time favorite video games to play when I'm in the middle of a Lord of the Rings binge or otherwise just want to ride around and explore. For those of you interested in trying out the game, I'll include a link to the LotRO website in the description area, and there's also a link on my channel banner. See you all in Middle-earth. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new to join the Jedi Order, and comment down below with your thoughts. And until next time, peace.